Yeah. So we discussed what is SQL and some other theoretical information related to database architecture and different naming conventions and data types. We all covered this thing. So from today, we are going to discuss how to install SSMS and once we install, we'll see what are the commands we have in SQL and how we are going to use that. Okay, so I shared you this installation setup document, so which helps you to install the SQL Server Management Studio on your missions. So let me summarize it, so which helps you to install. Let me open this document. So which this document will help to install SSMS. So yeah. So once you open this document, in the first page, you can find this link. So just click on this link and you'll be navigate to Microsoft website where you need to install developer edition. So let me open this link. Actually, it's supposed to work with control selection, but something happened. Okay, we have different approaches. Let me open our browser.
It's showing that version 2017. There is no any
It's
new version is there.
We'll be getting new version only, but this document is an older one. But if you go with this links, you'll be getting a latest version only, 2025 version you can install. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I just opened this link. So we are on Microsoft platform. So if you scroll down, you can see the different versions. So I am recommending go with the developer version. Once you click on this download, you'll be able to download this SQL Developer Edition. Once you download, you need to install it. Okay, so there is some process during the installation. So it is everything is documented in this PDF. But if you find anything different, but it's like the difference is nothing but maybe there is a little variation in interface since we got multiple updates from Microsoft. But once you download that, you need to install. So while installing, you can see all this questions like you need to click S button or accept terms and conditions. So like how even if you install any other applications in your mobile, it will expect the same. So like how here also, once you install this developer edition, then at final step, it will ask you to install SSMS. So once you click this, it will navigate to your browser, a default browser. Then you can find this link in your browser, in your web page, like download SQL Server Management Studio or SSMS with some extension, like with the latest extension. So once you click that, then it will start installing. So once installation complete, sometimes it will ask you to restart your machine. So once you're done, then you'll be successfully installed SSMS in your system. So there is some other process after this, like if you want to know whether it is working or not, you can just directly click, just search SSMS and open it. So once you open, you'll be getting this application open, but still, if while opening, it will ask your server name. So this pop-up you will get. So if it is working fine, you'll get this pop-up. So so at the place of your server name, you need to add your system name. How you'll get system name is you just type system name under your search bar, or you can open run command and you can find, or you can search for system information. So once you open system information, then you can find your system name here. So this is your server name. okay, to connect to your SQL Server Management Studio. So once you enter this, then you can click connect. Or if you want to make any setup, or if you feel anything differently, then just watch this video and make the authentication as Windows. Don't go for other authentications. It will, if you go for other authentications, it will ask your organizational IDs and passwords. So as we don't have it, since we are learning and practicing, just go for Windows authentication only. Okay, then connect. So if everything goes well, then you can see like this preview. But if something goes wrong, then how you need to check is, so just go to this run command, open run command, or go to this taskbar search option, then search for services. So here you can find whether your SQL server is running or not. So as shown in screenshot. Okay. So if it is running, then fine. If it is not running, you need to give a right click and enable running option. Okay. So that you need to do. You can find SQL Server Management Studio in this list. Okay. So to avoid timing, I'm just closing this since it is working fine for me. And even if you feel any difficulties, you can just go through this document. But still, if you are not able to install, or if you are not able to run this, please reach out me. I can help you. Okay. So once you've done that, as I said, you need to use this your system name or computer name as a server name. Then you need to connect to the SSMS. Okay. So once you've done everything, so my recommendation is just add one data warehouse to your SQL Server Management Studio. How you can add is just go to this database engines, then give a right click, click on restore database. So before adding this, you need to install or you need to download your database warehouse. So to install that, I provided a link here. So once you click on this, you'll be able to see a number of databases. But my recommendation will be add AdventureWorks DW and latest one, what you find. Like it may be 2022 or 19 or 25. If you have 25, you can go with the 25 too. So I just added AdventureWorks DW 2022. Okay. So better even I recommend you to add the same since we are going to discuss multiple topics on this under this data warehouse. Okay. So to restore, even you can find step-by-step process here. So just give a right click on database name and restore database. Go to the devices and click on add. So under add, so once you see what you need to add here is you need to add the location of your data warehouse file. So which location? Your system location. Once you install, if you are if you are using downloads as a default in storage for the installing files, it will be under your downloads. But my recommendation will be like don't keep it in downloads. So once it installed in downloads or it placed in downloads, then just take it from here to any other folder. Like I just placed here in my restarting training folder. So from here, once you place here, you need to select this URL path. So once you click on this place, you can copy this path location. It's not a URL, but it's a location path. Okay. So that thing you need to add it here. Then once you add that, you can find your AdventureBox Data Warehouse 2022 or DW 2022. Once you add that, then you have to click OK. So then automatically it will add it to your SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, so then we can perform different tasks on it, or else even you can create uh, own data warehouse or own database like this. But to create, you need to do a lot of things, like you need to create multiple tables with multiple data, with lots of data. Okay, but to avoid this more time consumption, so I recommend you to add this. Okay, so just follow this PPT which will help you to install SSMS and open this SMS and connect, where you can create new databases, new tables, or even if you want to interact with the tables or databases you created, you can do that. And additionally, I recommend you to add one data warehouse. Or yeah, database. We are just restoring it into a database under the database folder. So then we can perform we can write some queries to interact with these database. Okay. Fine. So just do it from your end. If you have any doubts or confusions, you can reach out to me. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So then, once you install, you need to understand how this SSMS work and what is the how you can see this interface. Okay, I already shown you. Once you open, you'll be get a pop-up. There you need to give a server name. Once you give server name, you can see this preview. So here you need to write queries, but you cannot write unless you click this new query option. So if you click this, it will create a new page where you can write a queries. So here you can start writing queries to create a database or schema and tables, and even you can insert values into your tables. Okay, so that we'll see one by one, but just understand how it works. Okay, so just go through the steps which will help to interact with SSMS. Okay, so then we'll see our SQL commands. Okay, so we have different type of SQL commands that are DDL, DML, DQL, DCL, and TCL. Okay, so DDL means data definition language. So what we can do with this DDL is we are defining some like we are defining databases or defining tables, views, and all. Okay, so what it will do is actually it helps to create objects on your databases. Okay, and what DML? DML stands for data manipulation language, which helps to you to manipulate your ob manipulate your data, which is already there in your objects called tables or views. It is not only manipulation, even it helps you to add data. Even if you want to insert new data, you can do that. And what DQL will do is data query language. It's so we can perform uh, with only select queries. Like it cannot manipulate anything, it cannot define anything, but it will interact with each and every object and it retrieves the data. It performs some transformations. Okay, but it will not change anything. It will not going to add anything into your database. Okay, so then data control language, DCL, data control language. So the name itself we can understand. It controls the data. So for example, you have a number of users in your organization. So you're having prod data and development, dev environment data. So if you want to limit the user permissions or user access to interact with your DBs or to manipulate with the DBs, so then you can use this data control language where you can grant permission to your users, or even you can take off these permissions from the users. Okay. And then we have one more transaction control language. So with the name you can understand easily, it controls the transaction. So you perform multiple transformations on your queries, but still if you want to control this, or like if you want to save this transactions, or if you want to commit this, you can do with the commit option. But still, if you want to undo the changes, or if you want to revoke the changes, then you can use rollback, and the save point will help if you want to undo changes at particular level or particular step. then the save point will help. So all this we can learn with the practical queries, but I just want to give overview here. Okay. So if there is a possibility to get to face an interview question like what is DDL or what are the SQL commands we have, so then you need to answer we have DDL command, which means or which stands data definition language. It is used to define and manage database structures. How it is managing? So we are going to create new objects or new databases with a DDL. So since we are creating new, then we can definitely say it is used to define and manage database structures. Okay. And so for examples, you can create databases, you can create schemas, you can create objects, even you can drop it or you can delete. Don't mention delete, you can drop. You can mention few terminologies like this. So there is a huge difference between delete, drop and truncate in this SQL language. I will see one after one, but just understand what is DDL. DDL stands for data definition language, which will help you to use to define and manage database structures. And we have one more thing, data manipulation language. It's used to manage data within database objects. That's what we discussed. Like it is used or it helps to manage data within database objects. We'll be having database objects like tables, views, procedures, and all. So if you want to manage your data on those objects, we can do by using DML command. Okay. So for example, if you want to insert new data, you can add, or if you want to change anything in the data, you can add, change that by using update. Or if you want to remove data, you can remove by using delete option. Okay. That we can learn or we can see with step-by-step queries. Okay. So next, data query language. So used to retrieve data from the database or from the database objects. Okay. So DQL, I said we can perform only select queries. So it will not change anything and it will not create anything. It will not going to delete anything in your database. It just help to retrieve data from database objects. Okay. Remember that. So next we discussed about DCL, data control language. So used to manage user permissions and access control. Okay. So how you are going to do is by using grant and revoke. So grant will help to allow permissions to the users. Revoke will help remove permissions or remove access or remove privileges from the users. Okay. So this is how it will help, and we have TCL, transaction control language. So what it will do is it it controls the transaction. So if you want to uh, commit your transaction, then you can use commit. Like if you want to save your transaction, you can commit. Or if you want to undo your transactions or undo your changes, you can use rollback. And if you want to go a particular step from your last applied steps, so then you can use save point. Okay. So I just revert twice to make you to understand very clearly. Okay, so then we'll see one after one by one with the queries. So how DDL will work and how we can use this DDL commands for data definition language. So as I have this setup ready, I'm going to start writing queries on this to create first database, then schema, then table. Okay, so this is a hierarchy we are having. So hierarchy means like higher level to lower level. Okay, so first we'll be having database. Under the database we'll be having schemas. Under the schemas we'll be having objects like tables, views, and all. Okay, so In general, if you take or if you consider, we'll be having nation first, like our India, then we'll consider our state, like AP, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, any other things. Then we'll be taking next priority as our district, then our constitution or our village. So like how we used to will be having in general hierarchy flow. Country, state, district are your native. Okay, the same way we'll be having hierarchy level in our uh, database or in our RDBMS concepts. Like first we'll be having a higher level database, then we'll be creating schemas, then we'll be creating tables. In those tables, we'll be adding data. Okay, so let me create some database or one database. Like, right. See, to create a database, we are having very simple syntax. So it's really straightforward. And let's see, let me create. And before starting this, I supposed to say one more thing. SQL is not a case sensitive. So you need to understand what is case sensitive here. Case sensitive means like if it is a case sensitive, you need to write or you need to use keywords in the same way. Like if you used upper cases while defining your objects, then even if you want to call your objects, you should go with the same uppercase and lowercase format only. But as it is not a case sensitive, even if you created uppercase or lowercase, but you need to spell correctly, then you can retrieve data. But make sure the spelling should match with the existing one. So I hope everybody knows what is case sensitive. Case sensitive is nothing but like it's whatever it is, uppercase or lowercase, but we should have same spelling to interact or to call or to retrieve. Okay, I'll show you some examples. So like now I'm creating database. Create a database, then give the database name what you want to give for your database. Okay, so I'm giving database name as training. So this is my database name. So if you execute this, then your training database will be created under your databases in your SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, so if you see here, the training will be displaying in black color and create database both are in blue colors. So why the color difference is, so this create database and these two are keywords which we have access in your SQL Server Management Studio. See, we cannot change anything in the keywords. We just use as it is. But if you see this, the black color text, this is defined by the user. Okay, you can change anything on this. Like I just given training. You can give anything. You can give with your name or you can give with the numbers. Anything will be fine. Okay, so just understand the difference. The create, see here, create and database are keywords which defined by the system. So we supposed to use as it is. Okay, but here the training word is user defined word or developer defined word. So which is given by us. So you can change or you can use however you want. Okay. And along with this keywords, we do have variables called global variables, so which is defined by the system that I'll explain once we create this database. Okay. So that is very much important to know the system keywords, variables, and developer defined words. So you need to understand the difference. Okay. So I hope you have a clarity what is keyword here and what is defined or by the developer. Okay. So now what we are trying to do is we are going to create a database. Okay. So to create a database, we use the syntax create database and database name. So this is the syntax create database and database name. It is very simple. So I just executed, command completed successfully, and completion time you can see here. So I created database, but I don't see it here under this database names. So I just disabled and enabled here, but still I don't see.
We can
Okay.
refresh.
Yes, you're right. So to see this latest changes under your database or under your table, you need to refresh on next level. So for example, now I created database under this databases. So if want to see this under this databases, then I need to refresh at database level by giving right click and refresh. This is one option. Or if you want to refresh everything, whatever you have under Object Explorer, we can just do, you can just click here, refresh button. Okay. So I don't want to refresh all these things. I just want to refresh only this database folder where I can see my database, which I created recently. Okay. So I just refreshed and I can see this database name called training. Okay. So this is very simple to create a database. Okay. So then I said we have a hierarchy level. First we'll be having database, and then we'll be having schema. Then we'll going to create tables. Okay. So we just create a database. Now we'll see how to create schema. So see, under this database, we didn't create anything, but if you create any database, this all folders will be added automatically. Okay. So database diagrams, tables, views. If you expand this tables, you cannot see any tables unless, means you can just only see the system tables, which is defined by the system. Okay. But if you create any tables, then you'll see the tables under this tables folder. Like even if you see here under the databases, at first, when I install this SSMS, I don't have a database name called ABC Training and Adventure Works TW 2022. I used to see only system database and database snapshots. Okay. So I just, I was able to see only these two. Then when I added this Adventure Works TW 2022, then I'm able to see this. Then in last session, we just created one database called ABC. Then it has added here, and this session we created training database. So like how we are, we can see now three databases here. So, but once you expand your training database, you cannot see any table here under this, since we didn't add any table or we didn't create any tables. Okay. So maybe you'll be getting some doubt. Okay, I can see tables and databases. Where can I see schema? See, for schemas, we don't have any specific folder. We just create randomly, and we can use it when you are going to create objects, or we can use the same when you are going to call your objects. Okay, I'll show you that. And one more thing, if you don't use any schemas while creating tables or views, then it will store in a default schema location called DBO, database owner. Okay, I'll explain you that with some examples. Okay, so we just created schema. Sorry, we just created database, and we are going to create now schema. Same syntax. Create so before we just created database, now we are going to create schema. SCHEMA. Okay, schema, and you can name your schema. Like you can give uh, related what, like for example, if you want to create a tables of views and this schema, like any categorical tables, for example, I want to give some information related to books, then I can add schema name as education, or I can give shortcut like edu. So now I can execute the schema. So once I execute, this schema will be created under master. You need to, yes, so do you have any question?
Yeah, schema means we are storing the tables and views which one we have created. Those data will store in that particular folder, right?
It's it will not store anything, like it just ordering, it's creating a logical order. For example, as we discussed in data warehousing concepts, data marts, it's a logical subset of your data. So same way, I'm just creating a some logical subset. Like I want to store some educational information. So all this education information I want to keep in some particular location or some particular under particular schema called education. So if I want to create some sports information, then I'll use another schema called sports. Then I'll create my objects under the sports schema. Or if you want to add some dimension schema and fact schema, you can add to it, and you can store that information in the form of objects like tables or views and the respective schemas. So I'm just organizing my data logically. Is it clear? So
Yeah, yes, it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
We can say collection of tables, right? Schema is nothing, but we can say
yeah, it's a
collection.
collection of tables or views, anything. Yes, you're right. But the standard meaning is, or standard definition is, it's a logical subset of your data. Since, yes, it's a collection of tables also, but what type of tables it is? Whether it is all tables or any some random tables or relevant tables. So relevant tables here matters. So that we are saying logical subset, that relevancy. Okay. Here, one more point you need to remember. Okay. Before starting, I just want to make sure. Still, do you have any questions, or we are good to go?
Yeah, it's good to go.
Okay, fine. See here, so while creating database, I just created directly, and I can see the database under my database folder, and I can see my database name, whatever I created. So while creating schema, I need to make sure under which database I'm going to create. So I just created this, but to make sure I'm going to create under this database, what I need to do is I need to point here from master DB to training DB or training database. If you don't change this, your schema will be create under master DB. So let's give it a try. So I'll just execute the command completed successfully, but still I cannot find the schema, or I cannot use the schema under training DB. Let's give it a try. Create. Okay, that I can explain you later, but if I explain, you'll get confused. I'll explain once we create a tables, after creating tables. Okay, so make sure that whatever you are going to create, make sure that you selected the database, the particular database under which you where you want to create. Okay, so now I'll create under my training DB. Okay, the command completed successfully. Now I have this education schema and the training. Okay, so if I try to create again, let's see what will happen. See, I tried to run multiple times, then I got an error saying that create schema failed due to previous errors. If I read last line, just coming from, just start with first line. So it is showing this error location first, along with error message. And if you see here, there is already an object named education in the database. So if you have any object name, it is already existing in your database. If you try to create again, it will give an error like this. There is already an object name XYZ in the database. Okay, like these kind of errors you will get. So for example, if I try to create again database training, let's see what will happen. Same thing. Database training already exists. Choose a different database name. Okay. So if you try to duplicate something, then you will get a error like this under the naming. So if you want to create again training database to store some other information, then you can add some extension like one, two, or related. If you want to add some database particularly for sports, then training sports or training some computer languages and all. Okay, fine. So what we understand here is you know how to create a database and what syntax you're supposed to use. And if you try to do create one more database with the same name, you cannot create. And you know how to create schema and what is schema and what is the purpose of creating. And if you try to duplicate schema under the same database, it will return an error. But we executed the same schema twice, but we executed in two different databases. One is master and one is training. So under training, we tried to execute one more time, then we got an error like the object name called education is already exist in your database. Okay, understand this. So now I'll show how to create a table. Okay, so to create a database, we just use create database, and to create a schema, we just use create schema and schema name. But to create a table, we'll use the same like create table, table name, but will be so the table will consist tables and columns. Sorry, columns and rows. So we need to mention that too. At least you need to define a table with the columns list. Okay, so that we'll see how to create. Create create table. So I already said you SQL is not a case sensitive. So before I used it all lower cases, let me use mixed case here. Create table. See, even if I used capital and lower case, it is working. Okay. Create table. Table name is just consider school education. Okay. So this is table name. So table will consist columns and rows. Okay, so if you don't have, so our data will be added in rows. Okay, so even if you don't have a data, at least your table should define with the columns and data types. Okay, so that's why we need to include column names also while you're defining your table. So let me include some columns like in school. Just suppose we are creating a student table, or we are just creating some schools, different schools table. So let's add school ID, school ID. You can, since it just ID, it's just an ID. You can add data type, anything like integer or varchar. So I already explained you if it is just an ID where we don't require to perform any mathematical operations, even if it is a number. So then you can use any data type like text or number. It doesn't matter. Okay. If you remember this clearly when we are discussing data types concept, then you know, you understand why I'm recommending to use any data type called text or number. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask later. So I'm just giving integer, and so just add school name, or you can just add only name. So name is also system keyword. So then to avoid this blue color, you can just use underscore before name. So then you can see it as a developer defined word. Okay. So then since name will consist only text related information, you can use character type. So I'll show you one more thing here. So I just used character type, but I'm not specifying any length in the brackets like this. Just we'll see what will happen if we don't specify any length. Okay. So name, and we'll add one more column like school name, sorry, school ID, school name, and location or address. Okay. location. So we do have location as a system keyword. So to handle this, I just use underscore. So now it became a developer defined word. Okay. So location also text related information. So that's why I'm using character. For this, I'm specifying length around 20 characters. Okay. So just this is enough in your table. Okay, so I'm going to create a table. The table will consist columns, and each column should define with a specific data type. So this all we learned in previous sessions. So this creating table syntax is very simple. Create table and table name. Since we need to include columns list into the table, so I just added few columns called ID, name, location. So as we need to declare specific data type to each column. So for school ID, I just given as an integer, and for the name, for school name, I just given a character, and location. Again, it is a text related field, so I just given a character with specific length, but the name doesn't include any specific length. If we don't include, what will happen? We'll see. We'll see. So first, what you need to understand with this is how to create a database, how to create a schema, and how to create a table. See here, while creating this table, I didn't include schema before the table name. Okay, so if you want to store this table in a particular schema, then you should include that schema before your object name. If you don't include, your table will not be under any specific schema name. It will be under your default schema. I'll show you.
TPO.
Yeah, DBO. So let's execute. So I have multiple queries. Like now I just want to execute only table definition. I don't want to execute the schema education. So then what I need to do is I need to remove this, or I need to make this as a comment. So how can we do that? We just add two lines like this, two hyphens. So then you are not going to execute this create schema education. So even you need to add this and creating database. Okay. So now I'm just commenting these two syntaxes since I don't want to create schema again and I don't want to create database again. So if you don't comment this, it will start running again. So then it will return an error like we have already this database in your system then under this server, and we have already this object called schema in your database. Okay, so to avoid that errors, I can comment this, or we have one more option, like I'll just select only this table definition part and execute. Okay, so let me execute. Command completed successfully. So the table has been created, and remember, I didn't include any schema name here. Okay, so then where it will store and how it will be, we'll see. So I just created a table where I created under training DB, training database. I created this table, but I didn't mention any schema. Okay, so under training database, under the tables, I supposed to see this table, but I don't see it. So to see this latest changes in your Object Explorer, you need to refresh in next level. Okay, so I just created a table, so then I can refresh at table level to see my table is created or not. See here, dbo.school has been created. So as I said, if you don't create any schema, or if you don't specify any schema while creating any objects, it will store in default schema called DBO, database owner. Okay, so then as I said, I want to create all this education related information under educational schema. Then what you need to do is you need to add this edu before the schema, edu dot school. So if I execute this, it will create one more table under educational schema. Now before the table has created under DBO schema. As we don't specify any schema name, it will create under default schema. So the default schema is DBO. Okay, let me create this again. See, the command completed successfully. Even I just created same table, but there is small change. So if I don't make this change, then I supposed to get an error called that school, or the object called school is already exist in your database. But as I'm trying to create this under specific schema, which is not already exist under this educational schema. So that's why the command got completed successfully. So to see this change, what you need to do, you just need to refresh under your tables. See now, I can see school table has been created under educational schema. Okay. So if you expand this table, you can see columns, keys, constraints, triggers, indexes, and statistics. So just look at the columns at the moment. If you expand the columns, you can see the columns you defined under this table. So you define three columns: ID, name, location, and even you can see data types too. See here, I didn't given any length for the name character, but if you see here, it is showing one. So if you don't specify any length, the maximum character length will be taken as 1. But since I specify here for the location 20, it is showing maximum is 20. Okay. So for example, name I cannot define with the one character. So, but still if I try to add, let's see what kind of error we'll get. Okay. So before going to errors, let me give summary just to avoid confusions. So we just created database and schema and table we created in two ways. Like we just created without using schema name, and when we created without using schema name, it has created under default schema called DBO. When we specify schema, the table has been created under specific schema. So this is what we just discussed. Okay. And we played with some errors that is different, but just understand what we covered. Okay, so now I have a table, but if I want to add a data, what I need to do, you need to insert some data in your table. So data insertion part will come under data manipulation language, DML. So till so far, we just worked on DDL, data definition language. Okay. So now data updating, so like whatever you do with the data, so it's all comes under data manipulation language. Okay. So to insert, what you need to do is just go with the insert keyword. Okay. Insert into, yeah, need to give space, insert into. So you are going to insert. Where you are going to insert? I am going to insert into educational dot school. So if you want to specify or if you want to add data under educational schema under specific table called school, then you need to mention full name or fully qualified name. I'll explain you later what is fully qualified name. But just remember, if you want to add data in school table and that school table which is under educational schema, then you need to use educational dot school. Okay. What you are going to insert? I'm going to insert values. Okay. See, while writing queries, you need to read like this only. You need to recall like this only. So if you try to remember, create table, column, data type like this, there is a high possibilities to forget the syntax and forget the flow of writing. Okay. But if you read like this, so I'm going to create a table name. So the table should consist columns and each column should consist data type. So then I can define whatever the columns I need and I can define data type with a suitable. Okay. Like how I define table, then while creating while giving values to the table. So same way I need to recall like insert into on which table, the table name, and what you are going to insert values. Okay, then how you need to insert. So as I have it three columns, then I need to pass three values for each and every row. So as first column is ID, then I'll pass value ID. So since it is an integer, then it allows only numbers and just giving ID. Okay, so then name. So school name, just consider A. So if I give A like this, you'll get an error like what, like the text information should be in quote. Okay, single quote. Let me add single quote and then add A. Okay, but if it is a number, then no need to specify this quotes. So location. So for example, let me add location called Madanapalli. Okay, so then I have a three columns. One is ID, another one is name, another one is location. So I just given three values for a row. So open bracket and close bracket. Within these brackets, I passed three values since I have a three columns. So each column I specified exactly like school ID is one and school name is A and location is B. So you should not shift first value to the second, second value to the first. Like we don't have order. We did. So we should follow the order same as it is but as per the column definition. But shifting also possible, but while shifting, you need to specify your column orders here. So before shifting, you need to specify column order next to your table name so that we can see later. Since if I say everything here, then there is a possibility to get confused. So make sure your values should follow the column order. Okay, fine. So what is the syntax to add values or to insert values into your table? Insert into table name, and if we are as we are inserting values, I just used values. And how we are passing values? So as my table definition has three columns and each column should have one value to create or to complete one row. So that's why I passed three values within one set of brackets. Okay, so now I can execute this. So one row affected. So completion time we can see, which means that the query got successful by adding one row. So to see this data, what you need to do, you need to call this table with select query. Okay. So, but if you try to see data under this object explorer, we cannot see. Under object explorer, we can see only objects. So these all are objects like database, tables, views, all these keys constraints all comes under objects. Okay, but if you want to see data, you need to call your table. To call your table, what you need, how we can write syntax is select star from table name. What is your table? School. But how you need to define education dot school, edu dot school. Why? Since you are inserted data under this table. Okay, so to read data, I need to execute only this line. So I'll select this line and execute. So now we can see data in table presentation. So I have school ID, school name, location. School ID is 1, school name is A, and location name is Madanapalli. Okay, so in general, if you see, the name doesn't finish with one letter. So we'll be having some extensions. So let's try to add that. Okay, so now to include one more record or few more records, you just need to use the same syntax. If you want to add additionally, you just keep comma and open bracket, close bracket. Within this bracket, you can pass the values. Okay, it will be in the same line or it will be in the next line. It doesn't matter. Okay, so or I already have a syntax I can just change the information whatever I need. So then I can run the same query again. Okay. So let's do that. So I'm
No need
just,
semicolon.
sorry,
No need for semicolon.
semicolon. Yes, you can keep, but at the end you can keep.
Okay.
Even if you don't keep, it doesn't matter. Like it will not return any errors.
With the
Okay.
semicolon also, we can execute the query, right?
Yeah, we can execute. So for example, I just used colon here.
Or
You can-
not here, in insert into there.
Okay, it for your purpose, you can just give it trials and observe what is happening. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
fine. So I'm going to insert one more record just to give a meaningful school name. Like just adding school ID is 2 and school name is just add any school like government school. Okay, GOV or some, that's fine. Okay, so like, and the maybe it is in same location, no problem. Okay, or you can change your location. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just execute this part to insert one more record into my table. What is my table? School, and which is under schema. Okay, so let me execute this. See, it is written an error. We'll see what is that error. String or binary data would be truncated in the table. The table name is, see it here, you can see name. This is called fully qualified name, where you can see table name, schema name, and database name. Training is a database name, education is a schema name, and school is a table name. So with all this combination, we can say fully qualified name. Okay. Okay. So let's come back to error. String or binary data would be truncated in the table. Column name is name, truncated value Z. See why it is showing only Z here, and even I allowed ZOV. As we didn't specify character length here, so it just taking default maximum length as 1. So that's why it is able to return only one letter. If we try to add more, then we'll be getting these kind of errors. So based on this, what you need to understand, if you are specifying or if you are defining character or text to type to a column, make sure you're defining a maximum length like 20 or 30. Okay. So if you define like this, then it will allow the characters up to 20 length. Okay. So if I define like this, it will not work even if I execute again. See why it is not allowing me? I just written here, but I didn't execute this. Okay. To execute, even if you execute this, it won't work since your table is already there under educational schema and under training database. So then in the existing table, if you want to change a column length, how we can do, we can go with the alter, so that I can explain you tomorrow. So if I explain everything in a single session, you will get confused. Okay. So let me summarize what you need to understand and what where your focus should be. Okay. So with this session, you need to understand how to create a database and how to create a schema and how to create a table. And if you create a table without specifying schema, what will happen? And if you specify a schema, what will happen? So you need to understand this. And while creating a table, what you need to consider. So as table consists columns and each column should consist a data type. So that you need to mention. And if you don't specify a length to a column, then what will happen? See, I'm considering, so I'm clearly saying about if it is a text type or character type, then only you should mention length. If it is an integer, then you don't worry about the length. Okay. Okay. So remember this. And how to insert values. So till here, you should be clear. If you have any questions, you can ask me. And I'm recommending you to install this SQL Server Management Studio in your systems, then start practicing. So from today, there will be so much to practice from your end. If you spend more time and if you practice with the different scenarios, then you'll become expert it's in this subject. But if you don't practice, then you cannot understand going forward. Okay, so spend time and practice more. Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, if there is no questions, then we'll stop recording here.